Hello everybody, welcome back, and for this week we're going to be adding sand to the Aqua One Mini Reef 90. I've had the sand just sitting in my bedroom for quite a while now, and we've been fiddling with the filtration setup for about a couple of weeks now, and we finally got it sorted. Skimmer's running, the return pump's running, it's all filtering down, so I think it's about time we add in our sand. So what I've been doing for the previous two reef tanks that I've had is use live sand, but for this build I don't really need that extra live bacteria, and I have to spend probably about twice the amount of money for live sand, and they usually give you a lot more as well. I only need about 5 kilograms of sand. So I've gone for this Reef Flowers Pearl White sand. It was quite cheap. It was only about, what it says on there, £17 for 7 kilos of sand. Which is quite a bit. I don't end up using all of this, I only end up using about 4 or 5 kilos of it, so I have a bit spare left over. The grain size though, it's a little bit bigger than what I've previously been having. Reason being is because this tank's going to be an SPS only tank, so it needs quite high flow pretty much everywhere, so I can't have fine sand for the bottom, otherwise it's going to be swishing and getting kicked up and floating around the tank. So I went for a slightly larger grain size so that it doesn't move around so much. So the first thing to do obviously is get this sand out of the bucket, because it comes in a big bag inside the bucket. So here it is. Here it may not look like a lot, but this 7 kilogram bag of sand would do quite a decent sized tank. So we're only going to be using about half of this, about 60-70% of it maybe. Obviously we're going to put a little bit more in than what we need to, because we can always take out if we have to, because it's a lot easier than to take the sand out, because this sand is probably going to be quite dusty when we put it in. So what the plan is to put the sand in, let the water cloud up, so we're going to puff through it, kick up as much dust as we can into the water, and then we're going to do a full about 95% water change. So take all the water out, fill it back up with RO, and then put fresh salt in as well. So here you can see the grain size. It's not tiny, but it's not big either. It's just right. But the color of it's actually is quite nice as well. It's really bright white, which I like. It's not, it doesn't look kind of yellowy, it doesn't look pink, it looks really nice, it looks natural, looks really natural sand. I do like that. I prefer the look of finer sand, but I can't have fine sand in this tank because there is going to be high flow and it is going to go everywhere, but I really still do like the sand. I only want a nice thin sand bed though. I don't like thick sand beds, I really don't. I like it as thin as I can. I only plan on having 2 fish in this tank. I know what fish I'm going to be going for. I'm not going to say what they are. I'm going to just show you when I get them in a month or two time, whenever I get around to adding livestock. But I only want a really thin sand bed, so I don't need to worry about wrasses or anything, because I don't plan on having wrasses in the tank. Tank's too small anyway, and I don't want a net cover for the tank, so I need non-jumping fish. Like I said, I have a plan for the livestock. I want to go for this. So we're going to pour it in now, do a bit of a slow motion. Pouring it in, it's quite satisfying. So it may look clean now, but give it about 10 to 15 seconds, the water's going to go real cloudy. I didn't think much dust would come out of this, but the tank went pretty much like you couldn't really see anything in there at all. It was just cloud. So here it is all kicking up. There's quite a lot of cloudiness in here. The skimmer obviously took quite a bit out as well. Definitely did help reduce. Well, when I did the water change, I filled it back up. There was still a little bit of murkiness to the water. I just turned the skimmer on, put it up a little bit of power to it, and it really helped make it crystal clear, which you should see at the end of the video. So we've put our first batch of sand in. We're going to put a little bit more in as well, because this isn't quite enough. So we put a little bit in, we spread it out, even it out, see how much we got in there. If it's not enough, if I don't feel it's enough, what I'm doing now is I'm going to put a little bit more in. We're going to put in a little bit more than what we need to, and see if we need to take any out. This job is an easy one-person job. You don't really need 2 people for this. It's only a bag of sand. It depends how much sand you're putting in. If you're putting big bags of sand, maybe 2 people might help. But yeah, I pretty much did all this all on my own, just putting the sand in. Pretty simple. So I aim to go about 1/2 inch thick at most. at most. I don't like any more than an inch thick. Looks horrible. Like in my previous tank, the sand was way too thick. I had 10 kilos of sand in there. 10 kilos. It was quite a bit of sand, and it was really thick, and I hated it. But I wanted this tank. I wanted this tank to be real nice, real mint. You know, do everything right. So try and make the sand as thin as we can. So what I'm doing now is using the tongs here just to even it out, spread it out, see how much we need. If we need to add any more in. So it's a little bit thin, so we're just going to add a tiny little bit more just to top it off. So we're going to pour it in there. So what we're going to do now, now we've got all the amount of sand that we want in there, is we're siphoning the water out of the tank as much as every single drop as we can get. Try and get at least 60 litres out of this tank. This tank is a 45 centimetre cube, so if you work it out, it does work out towards about 65-70 litres, including sand and rock. So we're siphoning out all the water, all the murky water, and then we're going to replace it with crystal clear RO water, and then we're going to salt it up later on in the day. So we're just getting to the last bit now. So as you can see, we're getting about 98% of the water out, just like literally a few millimeters above the sand. So as you can see, we've got all the water out pretty much. There's probably about a couple of litres of water left at the bottom, which we obviously can't get to with the sand. But you see the water line there, I've got it all the way down to the sand level. And the thickness of it, I'm pretty happy with. It's about just under an inch thick, which is alright. Anything under an inch, I'm happy with. So I think it looks good. And if I change my mind in the future, I can always take some out, because it's really easy to take sand out of a tank. So the water's really cloudy now. As you can see, we've just filled it back up with fresh RO water. It's cleared it up quite a bit, but it's still quite cloudy. Obviously, the skimmer helps take that out. Obviously, it's going to settle down into the sand a little bit. We're just going to have to puff through it, try and kick some up back into filtration, get it skimmed out. So what we want to do is leave the tank for about 24 to 48 hours and see. I'll give you some footage now of what it looked like 48 hours later, 2 days later. So after 2 days, it's gone absolutely crystal clear. I'm really happy with this process. It was nice and simple, only took about an hour at the most, maybe even half an hour. Just put some sand in. I like the look of it. I like the grain size. The thickness of it isn't too thick. It's about half an inch thick sand bed. So I'm really happy with it. So everything went to plan. So for next video, I'm not too sure what we're going to do. Trying to add some rock in maybe, get the filtration sorted out. And I will catch you guys towards the end of the week. Bye.